This is the Triple Play Fantasy Basketball Show. I'm your host, Coach James Lewis, back again. This time coming off COVID. Yes, people. Not only Joel Embiid, Nikola Vucevic, and half of the 76ers. It's real. Um, COVID numbers are spiking. They're recommending you get the booster shot because of the spread. Maybe this virus has moved past it, but it's real. It's real. I've had every symptom possible. It's been coming in waves. Um, I'm just happy that I'm a 30-year-old healthy male being able to handle this because I can see why this has killed so many people, and it is serious. People still wear your masks. Keep that distance. There's a reason why those protocols are in place. You never know really where you're going to get it from.
What's the protocol for you to get back to school? Is it like a day amount?
Quarantine
Is it
here in Maryland is 10 days,
uh-huh.
and you do not have to check in with like your physician, but you're not to come back if you have any symptoms remaining. They're kind of, I guess, trusting you to come back and be healthy when you
I
do come back.
guess
But it's 10 days from the time that which you got the symptoms.
okay. And I guess you don't have to test negative because people who get it, like they can still test positive like 90 days after. Is that why?
Yeah, and well, I tested negative before I tested positive from
Uh-huh.
tracing back, and so
Uh-huh.
it had been 5 days from the encounter with the other person that got the COVID. So I got an expedited test when I felt bad Sunday morning, but 5 days before that, I was perfectly fine. So that's why they say like you might not know you have it when you have it.
Yeah.
And that 48 hours prior to you getting symptoms is when you're most infectious. So when you still feel healthy, you have it. So I got the expedited test. It costs $100, but then you find out within the hour whether you tested or not. And on Sunday when you're going into work, I work in an area where there's a lot of close quarters of people, and I do not want to spread it, so I made sure that I got it.
I know you
And so
can't smell or taste, but I know you can
can't
watch basketball.
I got a lot
Let's
of
go.
hoopage, and with college basketball starting, man, I updated my draft board. I got people climbing up the boards, people I'm taking off, I'm moving them down. It's actually been, as far as that's concerned, it's been refreshing to record the games and actually like watch like the everything and not just look at box scores and watch what you can. I went through the
Yeah.
whole gamut of the whole first week of college basketball, which was awesome, and then I got to watch any NBA that was being thrown up there. The Wizards are in first place. The
Duke
Wizards,
looks
I
good,
repeat,
man.
are in first place. Oh yes, they have the ingredients. Trevor Keels is just, to me, he's a lottery pick. He went from not on anyone's board to jumping up to a top 15, and to me like a top
He's
10 pick.
he's the best scorer on that team, I think. I
Oh
think
no, he's not.
I like Banchero, but Keels looks like the most natural scorer on that team to me.
Oh, it's Paolo. It's Paolo, and
Yeah,
time will prove that. Paolo has just so much in his bag.
he
Trevor had
does.
had a hell of a game. He took advantage of the smaller guards of Kentucky, and he was bruising them, and he had a hell of a game. But I think throughout the season, what Paolo does, he has unguardable moves. He can put you on his hip. He does a nice little spin move. He's got a nice mid range game. He can shoot the three. He can shoot off the dribble. He's
Yeah.
just so fluent because he's 6'10" and he's got a grown man body. He's going to be abusing teams the entire way through. So, and that's no discredit to Keels because I really like him, and he was the more, I guess, impressive player out of that entire game. Yeah, but we're here to talk about basketball. Since we did kind of talk about some college basketball guys, some Trevor Keels and Paolo Banchero. My buddy Jacob Dunne ain't done yet is where you can find him on Twitter. Anybody impress you from the college basketball landscape in particular, or any game or any 90-footer at the buzzer, which we did see, which is a nice way to start the season?
The only thing I've been paying attention to is my Colorado Buffaloes. They started off their season with a cupcake matchup against Montana State, and Montana State was leading by 10 with like a minute, with like probably like 2 minutes to go, and I'm like, this is awful because like the Buffaloes had Tyler Bay and McKinley Wright. If you've heard of them, they're
Yeah,
now
NBA players. Yeah.
last year, and I think we got into the second round, and now we have a bunch of underclassmen, and we almost lost to Montana State. We had to take them to OT and then barely edge them out. So a little bit bummed about that. Hopefully that was just like the first game jitters. But yeah, I'm all about the Buffs over here.
So, what did you think of Samaki Walker's son? He plays for Colorado. That's right. Okay. So I'm confusing. You guys have similar logo, similar colors. But the Walker kid is on the first round boards, and then he's somebody that I have not checked up on yet, but I definitely am looking forward to.
Yeah. So Samaki Walker's son, he goes to Colorado.
Yeah.
He's on the Buffalo. Oh my goodness. Right. He's good, man. He's good. He helped us out. He helped us out last year.
So he's got first round grades, man.
Does he really?
Low first round, second round grades. Yeah. And you see a lot of former NBA basketball players, children in the top 20. And AJ Griffin, who was supposed to be a top 10 pick, he only played like 15 minutes in the first game, 11 minutes, I think. That was the biggest shocker to me that they started Keels right away, and that AJ Griffin was.
Well, you see now why they did.
Took a back seat. Oh, I saw. Truly, yeah, it was
Jabari Walker.
Jabari, yes, thank you.
He stole the show in the first round of March Madness. He stole the show. He came out of nowhere, a freshman off the bench, and just killed it. I think he went like 6 for 6 from 3 and single-handedly won us that game. It's like, whoa, Samaki Walker's son. Let's go.
Makes you feel old, man. All these players that we grew up watching.
I know. Samaki, he was a killer. And then I think he might have got a ring on the Lakers squad towards the end of his career.
I think so.
Maybe. G League has started up as well. I've been catching some of those games. A lot of them are on ESPN Plus, but the G League Ignite, you got to have your eyes on them because they have 4 guys that could go first round, second round picks. So they're exciting. They have a guard in Jaden Hardy that is just very electric. Scored a basketball at a very high rate. Don't go under his screen because he will make you pay. He's got some wiggle. I think Barchan Beauchamp. If you're looking at my Twitter page, I have nothing but high things to say about him. I think he'll be a first round pick, 6'7". He looked like the best player in that team the first 2 games. We still haven't seen Henderson play, but I think that they're gonna ease his way in as he signed a 2-year contract, and we'll see what he looks like when he gets out there. So it's week 5, people approaching, and we're trying to keep you sharp. Notable injuries, waiver wire pickups, watch lists, people you need flat out drop, as well as your fantasy performances of the week. So you've heard, I've already introduced Jacob, ain't done yet. The other voice, the majestic voice you hear, the divergent Bradley Kilgore, which you can find him on Twitter on @SirBradleyK, and that's Bradley Lee capital K. What's up, capital K?
Can't complain, man. I love how you gave my Wizards the shout out already, man. I can't believe, I thought we'd be like a bottom of the rung playoff team, maybe like at best when you trade a future Hall of Famer for scrap pieces, but
there ain't scrap pieces.
Apparently not.
Shout out to Spencer Dinwiddie, Colorado.
Shout out to Wes Unseld, man. Wes Unseld is really they're running like a real offense. Like it's not just give it to Brad and everybody else stand still. Like Spencer Dinwiddie is making sure everybody's flowing, everybody's moving without the ball. They don't even have Rui back yet.
They're quick with their movements. They're unselfish. Spencer plays great with the ball, off the ball.
Gafford getting 20 minutes, mixed with Harrell getting 20 minutes. Like it's just they're a respectable front court as well as a respectable back court.
Yeah.
I'm actually really impressed.
And that's without Thomas Bryant and without Rui Hachimura. Like
exactly.
And I don't know what's going to happen when Rui does come back because he might throw a pickle into this lineup and kind of designated roles that they have. It does because Kuzma is going bananas. Like you said with Trez and
Rui's not a guy that you need. Like he's not. I don't need him to take 15 shots. I'd like him to, but he can be super effective taking 8 to 10. And then my biggest concern is what do we do about Thomas Bryant, because before he got hurt, he was getting 30 minutes a game, looking like somebody we're gonna have to pay a lot of money. And now we have Gafford and Harrell who can't. I don't want them to lose minutes at all. So I don't know. He might be expendable going forward.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to work his way back in. You're coming off an ACL injury. Gafford's top 5 in blocks. He's only playing 19 minutes a game. But his rim running, you throw anywhere around the basket, he's going to go and grab it. It gives you toughness.
Super talented.
And then Trez is averaging 18 and 9. Like, he's back to 6th man of the year status. And if he's not the front runner, he's in the top 5 of that conversation.
He's always been the same dude too. Like it's nowhere, like everywhere he's been. Like we're not ever saying like Montrezl Harrell got so much better. It's just no, he's always this guy. He just hasn't been able to get consistent minutes for whatever reason. You know, the Lakers kind of pigeonholed him and put him in that, you know, we don't really need you unless our bigs are out kind of role. And you know, I'm glad to see that he's getting his run, his shine, because he's the kind of guy where like if you put him on the floor, it doesn't matter that he's undersized. He's gonna get those boards and he's gonna get those points.
Man, the Wizards just took over the pod. We do have to talk about some fantasy basketball here, and here we are, Triple Play Fantasy Basketball Pod, week number 5. We got to get you hip on games played. Just run through that real quick. Teams with 4 teams you want to keep your eye on: Hawks, Nets, Hornets, Bulls, Nuggets, Lakers, Grizzlies, Heat, Bucks, Clippers, T-Wolves, Pelicans, 76ers, Suns, and Blazers. Games with 3: Celtics, Cavs, Mavs, Nuggets, Rockets, Pacers, Knicks, Thunder, Kings, Spurs, Raptors, Jazz, and unfortunately for 2 teams, the Magic and the Wizards only have 2 games. And when you have Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, and Franz Wagner on your team, yikes. Good luck if you're in that situation. Injuries of note, been quite a few going on. Specifically, Joel Embiid, COVID, Nikola Vucevic, COVID. My COVID brothers right there. Colin Sexton, torn meniscus. That's terrible. Unless you're Ricky.
He'd rather have COVID.
And he's probably going to catch COVID. Michael Porter Jr., and we saw him miss a wide open layup in Gimpy. It was the back, and that was the issues that he came in as a highly touted draft prospect. So that you got to be very concerned on Michael Porter Jr., especially him getting that rookie extension max.
He didn't look great when he was healthy.
Nope. No, and maybe it had to do with this back because last year he would average 19 and was spectacular in a lot of games.
I was asked on Twitter if you should pick up a Michael Porter Jr. and drop Kevin Porter Jr. And I said, well, do you have an IL spot? He says, no. I was like, I wouldn't even touch Michael Porter Jr. because who knows if he even returns this season, because the Nuggets gave Michael Porter Jr. a full year off when they first drafted him. Like you can bet that they will put the kid gloves on Michael Porter Jr. We might not see him until like February or March at probably the earliest, especially with Jamal Murray not expected back until March as well.
If he has to get surgery on that back, he's probably somebody I'll never touch again. Yeah, just in general, because I don't know if you guys have heard that adage, like, there's no such thing as one back surgery. Like you just have to keep getting it done. Yeah. And it's just something that, like, look at Tiger Woods, for instance. Like, it's just something you can never really shake because the back is so complex, and it's such an integral part of your everyday movement. And we don't even if you're healthy, you don't even really realize it. But if you talk to anybody who's like throwing their back out or got surgery, it's just hell. So I can't imagine having to be an athlete on that.
We saw that took away years from Larry Bird's career because even with half himself, he was still going to give you buckets, and then he was going to be on the sideline icing his back.
Like a big man with a bad foot. It's like you just don't want to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel bad for any league that doesn't have IL spots or IR spots. That's a travesty. That's unfortunate. It would almost make me not want to play in a league like that because injuries happen so much, and then you don't want to be plagued. You have a better team, and you have to have Joel Embiid who has COVID. Like, you should be able to stream somebody for a week or two. Like, that's not fair.
The only thing that makes me okay with that is that everybody has to deal with it. Like, it's just extra strategy that you have to kind of factor in. But I agree. Like, an IL spot is preferred.
Yeah, I would be cutting people loose and just trying to get by. But
gotta win now.
Yeah, Jalen Brown, hamstring, and you never know how long that can linger. 1-2 weeks he's supposed to be out.
He might get traded.
But yeah.
I was going to say that, Bradley. I wonder if the C's are kind of holding him out because they're trying to get Ben Simmons. You know, I know that they're probably not doing that on purpose, but it's like, hey, you know, we don't want Jaylen Brown's hamstring injuries are tricky. So, you know, if you really want him to be an important trade piece for a future Ben Simmons, like I would definitely try to still keep him out, which means that Dennis Schroeder's going to eat.
I will say
last night he had 38.
Yeah,
I just saw a report this morning. Brad Stevens was asked about the Jaylen Brown trade rumors, and he basically nixed it, saying that's not happening.
Oh, really?
But you know, what else would he say? So
exactly.
They already had an emergency players only meeting. That is concerning. They've already had one of those in the Kyrie era days. For me, I'm not moving Jaylen Brown for Ben Simmons. That's a downgrade in my opinion. I would like to see them out. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are still 25, 26, and they're so potent on both ends of the floor that I would
come a long way from saying he can't get any better.
I mean, how much better did he get from last year? Maybe an uptick on a point and a half. Like he's still doing the same things. I still don't think he's completely dynamic. Now, my opinion on Ben Simmons has dropped off a lot because I think he's a head case and I can't trust him in big game situations. And he just seems like a me guy. And that's, you know, completely changed because he's a lead point guard and he's a great defender. There's so many things that I like about him. I wouldn't trade for him. I wouldn't give it up, even though on paper it makes sense. Now you got a bigger guy in Ben Simmons that's willing to give it up, and Jason Tatum is obviously going to try to shoot the ball every single time he gets it, and maybe it is a better fit. But I can't cut loose on Jaylen Brown because of his character. It just stands out to me as much better.
I won't get into my Ben Simmons spiel. You know how I feel about him. But I will say everybody sounds like a me guy when they're trying to get traded, you know? So I wouldn't put that on his character. But in fairness to your point, like that's something people have been saying about him since he was at LSU. So yeah. So yeah, I don't think
going to
that's a bad
classes
take.
right after the last game. Yeah, he
he's there to play basketball.
Doesn't listen to coaching.
He doesn't.
But anyways, Jacob, would you make that trade? Just let's just say straight up Ben Simmons for Jaylen Brown.
So right now, I get why Brad Stevens would say no because the Celtics are on a 2-game winning streak. They're the 9th seed, but back when they were losing,
it's 2 games a streak.
And you know, it's technically a streak for them. I mean, like they're 6 and 6 now. Right. They were struggling at first.
That's true. That's true.
But now that they've pulled together 2 wins in a row, it's like, oh no, we are keeping this team intact. Whereas 2 weeks ago, he's like, we need to shake things up, and no one is safe. It's like, all right, you know, like I really think that the C's would pull that trigger. If it were me, you know, I know about the character issues with Ben Simmons, but I would like to shake it up. I would like to put Simmons with Tatum. I think that would be fun to watch. Now, as far as what's that?
I think it's a dominant team. Like it fixes all your problems defensively and offensively, really.
I think it makes the Sixers dominant. I think it makes the Sixers a title contender as opposed to Celtics being the team that takes the jump. To me, it'd be like the Sixers now, especially the way Tyrese Maxey is playing. The Sixers now are legitimate title contenders when you have Jaylen Brown on the court.
And that could be also. I like the C's a little bit better if they were to have Simmons. Like Bradley said, like Simmons is one of the best defenders in the NBA. That they would be set in my opinion because Al Horford's been playing great, like the young like the young Al. So I think that would be a very nice team to watch. But I would like to trade for both teams.
Yeah, it's one of those rare ones that works for both people. Yeah. So I hope they can get something like that done. But at the same time, I like Jalen's role that he has on Boston, which is just to go get it, just to score and keep getting better. Yeah. And he's not going to be that on Philly, in which, you know, the whole offense is like Joel or bust. And then, you know, hopefully they can get some ancillary points from Harris and Curry. But I think that would – I think, Coach, you have a point that would really put them over the edge offensively if Jaylen Brown could take some of the load off of that team. And I don't know who would have to be included in that, so it might mess up a lot of things because I think the trade Fulcrum kind of is heavier on the Simmons side just because of what he provides defensively. But like you said, like that's something that's an opinion thing, you know. So it depends. It depends what Brad Stevens thinks of that trade.
Yeah, but Jalen Brown is averaging 25, and Ben Simmons did have that debacle in the playoffs. I think they have fair trade value at this instance, at this moment. I don't think that Philly's going to have to throw in, say, a Tyrese Maxey. That's just a no. That's just not going to happen, especially Ben's not even showing up to camp. So who knows if he wants to go to Boston? Like, who knows what's going on in his head? And
that's fair. Yeah,
they're playing some game. Him and Rich Paul and that whole production. There's some gamesmanship going on, and we as basketball fans, we just want it to be resolved. Get him out of town, free Ben, and get him a different look. Wrapping up these injuries. Brandon Ingram with the hip on probably the worst team in the Pelicans. Returning injuries. LeBron, of course, it went from a week situation to weeks, so that it's open up.
Really? They stretched it out? I didn't know about that.
Oh yeah, it could be 3 to 6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, that came out like last week, and that they're gonna take their time with him. That he kind of feels like normal, but it could be like any type of strain could really strain it, and then he's out for a very long time. So they don't want to mess with it, and maybe this is a way to like just kind of, I guess, rest him a little bit with a injury that's not as serious, but like with the groin and with his ankles going crazy, and now with this abdomen, you really are looking at his age. But when he does play, he's there he is again. He's the king. He's one of the best players in the NBA. And Anthony Davis on a low is on fire this year. He is incredible. If you drafted him, you probably got a good deal. From a guy that's been a top 5 fantasy player, most of his career. Yesterday he had 3 steals, 3 blocks, going along with a 20 plus. He's just been very solid overall.
Yeah,
and we talked about Carmelo last week. So yeah, these are some recurrent injuries. Chris Middleton, the Bucks need him desperately. The Grayson Allen and all of those other role players, they need a little bit more. They need Chris Middleton as part of this puzzle, and that's why I kind of think he's an underrated player, because the Bucks they do need him to win a championship. They do need him to be the best player or the best team in the league. So those are all of our injuries. Now we're going to talk about, why are you here? You're here to talk about the waivers. Like, why are you turning back into a lifestyle pod? We get into it, man. We missed that. We missed talking about some of those things, but you're here for the pickups. And I'm going to start with a guy and a team that we were just talking about. That's Bobby Portis. He's serious. He has power forward and center eligibility, 67% rostered, plus 18 this past week. As he had injury riddled to start the season, so they were slow in his return. But just this last week, 18 a game, 8.5 rebounds, 1.8 assists. If he is on your waivers, you want to snag him up. 49.1% from the field. He's giving you 2.3 threes, including yesterday. He had 22.6 rebounds, 2 assists against Boston. His stocks are at an all-time high at 1.3 and 1 blocks in the last week. And this is not just a 1-game sample size, as against Philly on 11-9, he had 19 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 threes, 3 stocks. You guys got any love for Bobby Portis, starting with Brad?
Of course. No, that's a great pick. With Brook Lopez out, he's essentially like a must add. He's going to get 30 minutes a game. He's active. You're not going to have to worry if he's going to take enough shots. You're not going to have to worry if he's going to get boards. You're not going to have to worry if he's going to shoot threes. You're not going to have to worry, if he's going to get a few steals. Like, he's just a do everything player, and he's finally in a role where he's appreciated. I think last year in the playoffs, he realized how loved he was by the city, and I think he considers this place home. Yeah. And even though he probably could have got more money elsewhere, this is where he wants to be. And I think it's because he has that respect of his teammates and of the coaching staff, that even when, Brook Lopez comes back, he's still going to get probably 25 minutes some way, somehow. So he's a person that you can keep him on your roster throughout the rest of the season if you manage to pick him up.
And everybody needs a tough guy. And without PJ Tucker, he's the lone. He's almost like the lone wolf. Even though those other players, they're not punks or anything, but you need an enforcer. And he's one of those guys that could punch somebody in the face and break their nose, even if it's their own teammate. We've moved past that though. He's grown. Jacob, you got any Bobby Portis love?
I'm not as in love with Bobby Portis as you guys are. I like him, but I think he's more of like a meat and potato kind of guy, like points and rebounds. I know you're talking about his stocks. You know,
that's why I said it was an all-time high, and this is
this
is a weak sample size. So
well, so the last 2 games he didn't record a single steal or block, but the 2 games before that he killed it. He had 2 steals a game, and was averaging 2.5 blocks. You know, so I think that those stocks can't be relied upon. They can come and go in waves, and like Brad said, Brook Lopez isn't there. I'm wondering what he does once Brook comes back. And last game, Giannis didn't play. He was probable, and then they just held him back. So Portis did. He played 41 minutes and got 22.6 rebounds. That's nice. It's just I don't think he'll be as consistent as we want him to be. But like you guys said, he's a really good real life player to have off the bench. You know, and if you need those points and rebounds, you can count on that. You can count on, 10 to 15 points, 6 to 8 rebounds. Just the other stats, whatever else he does is just icing on the cake. But I would just, if you are adding him, it's for that field goal percentage, points, and rebounds.
And the Brook Lopez thing is very important too when thinking about his role here. Because he is going to get more minutes because we did see last year, and at times he is comfortable or they are comfortable as a team playing in that 16 to 18 range and for some scoring. And
that's the thing. Like he's the kind of player where if any of them are out, whether it's Chris Middleton's out or if Giannis is out or if Lopez is out, they're not going to put that position's back up and give them more minutes. They're just going to put Bobby Portis in the lineup and give him more minutes and work around that. Because like you said, he does get those points and boards, and he's active defensively, and he wreaks havoc. So he's a reason why I feel comfortable about him consistently over the years, because there's going to be injuries, right? There always is. And when there is, he's going to be the beneficiary.
Speaking of beneficiaries, our next guy, I'm going to let Jacob take the role, as this is the highest trending player pickup in this past week, as he went from 5% owned to 35, and that number keeps growing.
And it just keeps growing. I know. I sent out a tweet. I joked about it because Frank Kaminsky had 3 good games in a row. I joked, like NBA Jam rules, he is officially on fire, right? Like in those 3 games, he had 19 points and 6 rebounds, 1 steal, 1.3 threes, while shooting 62%. He was killing it. And so at that time, he was only rostered in 21% of leagues. I opened up the app this morning. He's rostered in 35% of leagues. And even last night's game, his 4th game after that NBA Jam fire rules, in his 4th game, he still got 27 minutes. He scored 8 points, 6 boards, 1 assist, 2 blocks, and 1 steal. So he contributed across the board. Now, I wouldn't rely on those blocks being a consistent factor, but 15 to 20 points, 5 to 8 rebounds a game with some sprinkled assists, you can definitely expect with the nice field goal percentage. He's 28. He's a seasoned veteran. All right. So I think he is a great add, and everybody should roster him for as long as DeAndre Ayton is out, which we don't have a clear timetable on that. But DeAndre Ayton, his name has also been floated in some trade rumors, like possibly for Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know if they're kind of holding him back and letting him take his time, because the Suns are still 2nd seed in the West. They're 8-3. So there is no rush in bringing Ayton back, but I know that they're probably doing everything they can. But just saying, all these factors with Ayton, Frank the Tank needs to be rostered everywhere.
And I definitely wanted to talk on that, and I wanted Brad's opinion as far as this Ayton situation is concerned, because the injury report lists that he has a lower leg contusion, That's a bruise.
It's a bruise,
and he's
yeah.
that's a bruise, and he's missed 4 games for this.
Right.
They obviously had contract stalls, as it was, the rookie extensions he was one of the main guys that did not extend. And with his performances last year in the playoffs, you were thinking he would be one of the first ones to pencil up, but instead they paid Mikal Bridges. They couldn't get a deal done with Ayton, and then with the Sarver situation being under investigation with his emails and his conduct and his environment on the team, and maybe throwing some words, some N-words that he should not be throwing around taking place. Again, this is all alleged at this point, and it's still under investigation. Does this affect DeAndre Ayton's status as a Phoenix Sun going forward? And are you concerned, or do you have a crystal ball prediction on this, Brad?
So, I think Jacob brought up a great point that he's kind of been floated around in trade rumors. And Coach, I think you brought up a great point that a contusion is just a bruise. So what that leads me to believe is that this injury is worse than they're saying it is, and they're trying to trade him because they're not going to extend him. So they're not going to say, okay, he's got some sort of, I don't know, nerve issue in his leg, or, he's got some sort of tear or something like that. They're not going to say that, because it hurts his trade value, and they're trying to ship him since they're not going to extend him. Obviously, you have to pass physicals before you're traded, so I don't think it's something crazy where, it's just a blatant lie and that he won't pass a physical, and I think it's just something that they don't want to make whatever he has worse, and they're thinking about shipping him, they're shopping him around because they're not going to extend him and give him that max deal. So
right.
I'm not particularly worried about Ayton the player. I think whenever he does get back on the court, he's going to be the same guy we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that he's hurt enough that they don't see the reason to risk it, because, like Jacob said, they're still the 2 seed, so they're winning games without him. And Kaminsky's showing up, JaVale McGee's showing up. I know he's not on the ad list, but he's getting 20 minutes a game and putting his points and boards up as well. So I think that it's not a situation where I'm overly concerned that Ayton's like hurt and this is some career altering thing. I just think it's better to be safe than sorry.
And Dario Saric also tore his ACL. I think this is now his second time in his career. That opens up minutes. It makes the Suns front court a little bit
tore
weaker.
That last year, right, in the playoffs.
I know he
did in the first quarter of Game 1 of the NBA Finals.
That's right.
That sucks.
Because I was like, did he tear it again? Like after he was rehabbing, I was like, okay. Yeah.
And
so
Jalen Smith actually led Summer League in rebounds, and he was a double-double machine, and he was a first-round draft pick. I think he was the 10 overall pick 2 years ago.
They already
Maryland.
said they're not going to pay him.
Pay him or play him?
They're not going to pay him. They didn't give him the extension, so they're not going to pay him, and they're not playing him either. Yeah, like it's just a bad situation. I don't know what the point of having him do all that, having him have all that success, and then just not playing him. Like, I don't understand the point of that.
Especially when the opportunity is there and it's open. And we saw Jay Crowder come back, and he's had some up and down games. He's somebody that you should definitely be watching as well, especially with these injuries going on with Ayton still out. They need production. But he's just Crowder's kind of one of those hot guys that isn't consistent and could, give you a blunder throughout the week. That's frustrating. Now, a guy that was on the top of our drop list at the beginning of the season as he was getting coaching DNPs. He wasn't playing at all. And a guy that is a fantasy stud in the past, as he contributes all around the board. And that is Thad Young of the San Antonio Spurs. We looked at the injury report and saw Jakob Poeltl is out for COVID. So maybe that saw him getting that uptick in minutes. But he started playing actually the game before Poeltl went out. Last week, he averaged 12 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 73 from the floor, 1.3. That's 3 stocks a game against Sacramento just a couple days ago, 17 points, 5 boards, 8 assists, 2 stocks. Thad Young is power forward and center eligible, and a lot of guys like him because he's of that all-around makeup. And even if you have a team built on, say, like a Jokic that contributes in every single area or James Harden, some of those people that get picked in the first round. He's a good complementary piece. So I'm saying, I guess my couple guys that I would say to pick up this week would be Portis and Davion. Do you guys feel my sentiment? Or are you staying away from Thad?
I love that, man. Thaddeus Young has played well in 4 straight games. All right. He's averaging 11.8 points, 5.8 rebounds, 4.8 assists, 1.8 blocks, and 1.5 steals during that span of Jakob Poeltl being out. You know, like Drew Eubanks is starting and he's getting 20 to 22 minutes. He's good for some blocks and some rebounds and points, but Thaddeus Young is the real winner here.
I do want to say on Drew Eubanks, because I do have the raw numbers in front of me. Last week, Drew Eubanks, who's power forward center eligible, is averaging 15 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block. And he's 21% owned, 15% in the last week. So I did have those raw numbers for Drew Eubanks. Is another option that you could be looking at for the San Antonio Spurs.
I just hate to watch him, though. I hate to watch Eubanks. It seems like every time he scores, it's like an accident. I just don't.
You know what's funny, Brad? It's the same thing with Jakob Poeltl. It's not fun to watch him.
It is. And he's somebody I stay away from both of them on my fantasy teams, because it's just like if I don't actually think that you're like a long-term NBA talent, like if I can't trust you to go like put up huge numbers on a garbage team, then it's hard for me to roster you in general. So I kind of stay away from the Poeltls and the Eubanks, even though they've shown that they are NBA players, and there's a reason they're starting. It's because they are NBA talents, but it's just hard when I compare, you know, against other guys that I see in their position. It's just like there's a clear line of demarcation and they're under it.
Oh yeah.
And they are not the most enjoyable team to watch in the NBA. I think in every single team, you can find something to captivate you and really watch. I think San Antonio's
Dejounte Murray.
I was just going to say that.
I was just going to get to that. I was going to say their appeal is Dejounte Murray, as he is a spectacle, and he's, I guess, that one thing. But they're probably in my top 5 teams that I'd prefer not to watch, as a team that isn't appealing to me. Yep. Whereas like the Wizards this year, and I'm not making this a Wizards pod, but the Wizards are just so exciting every minute, and all of their games have come down to the wire. The best record, but like they're winning close games, and it's Kuzma one night, it's Spencer one night, it's Brad the next. Like they are gelling. In Wes Unseld Jr., man, coach of the year this far. 11 games in the season, he deserves it. I mean, there's plays, and because I'm watching him, there's plays in which he's challenging Brad defensively. It's a press up on people. He forced Grayson Allen to a 24-second shot clock, and they went over and dapped each other on the sideline. It was just so exciting to see Brad so enthusiastic on defense and to have that respect of his coach. And he just is so well-mannered. His demeanor is amazing. Like, and he's got schemes and plots, and he's a player's coach. He's hearing what they say. Like, just love Wes Unseld Jr.
So first of all, rest in peace to his grandmother. I know he's missing the game tonight because he's got to handle that. But Brad Beal I'm talking about. But what you brought up, about the Wizards is very true, and it's just I think this is the first year and probably the last 3 that when Brad has said he doesn't want to be traded, I actually believe him. Like I actually think that he's having fun on this team, and he's got a supermax coming to him. So I think those 2 factors might actually make him stay. When they traded Russ, I was worried we were going to blow the whole thing up and just be a garbage team for the next 3 to 4 years trying to accumulate draft picks. But
he's gotten better every single year of his career. And this year, I think it's a defensive thing, and I think it's just picking his spots. Last year, he was, like you said, giving the ball and scoring. He was, second in the NBA in scoring. You see a downtick a little bit
because inefficiently, might I add. He got a little too much credit for being a scorer when he was just taking a lot of shots.
I mean, he was flame throwing a little bit though. He had a 60-point game. He set the franchise record, tied it at least. But
no. I'm not saying he's like a scrubber. I just people acted like he was doing Steph Curry things when he was just he had the highest usage rate in the league.
Yeah, I'm just glad he's still on our Wizards. Now to wrap up our pickups for this week, before we go to kind of a watch/waiver pickup list, is Nic Batum. Oh, yeah. He's 63% rostered. At the beginning of last year's season for the Clippers, he started off hot and he was a really solid basketball contributor to my fantasy team for weeks before he fell off. As far as he needs to be hitting his threes. And so this last week, he's been rostered 21% uptick. He averaged 17 a game, 7 rebounds and assists. And he was super known for his stocks growing, I guess, in his young NBA career.
On the Blazers.
In the Blazers, and he's giving you like 2 before he went to, Charlotte and got paid, and that was just a debacle. But shooting 67% on 4 threes a game, yeah, you don't see that to sustain. But, Kawhi Leonard being out, there's a lot of minutes there, and he's just a solid contributor because you can put him at the 3, 4, and the 5. So Nic Batum is somebody that should be rostered right now. His counterpart, Terrence Mann, yesterday had a 0-point game, so he was on my watch list before that. This roster went from 45% to like 31 based on the performance from yesterday. But we saw them have 39 in one of the playoff games. He's someone just to watch in general as a young player. You never know when they're going to catch their groove.
I like that pick, Coach.
So yeah, keep your eyes on Mann, and you guys pro Batum for a 12-team league, Cats.
I echo everything you just said. I'm not going to add anything.
Jacob? Hey, yeah. I'm a fan of Batum. If you can give me like those 3 and D stats, and especially like you said, James, with Kawhi out, I'm all for Nicholas Batum. Terrence Mann in deeper leagues, but definitely Nicholas Batum.
Now another guy I just want to shout out because I like him. And Brad raved about this pick, even though they're guard heavy, and that's Davion Mitchell.
Let's go.
Davion Mitchell had a career high 8 assists in this last week, and he had a 19 point, 4 rebound, 4 assists, 4 threes against Charlotte. And that's kind of where his shooting has not been great over the season. It's kind of one of his concerns, as he only had 1 solid year in college basketball shooting. I think that's just a matter of time. He just has to adjust to the line to move it back. But his shiftiness is so impressive. It's so hard to stay in front of him. And then the defense it's real. It was talked about, but he is a walking shackles, and you can play him, with Buddy Hield. You can play him with Halliburton. You can play him with Fox. You can play him in 3-guard lineups. Even though he's small, he can guard bigger defenders. And look at Sacramento. I mean, they're in the playoff hunt right now, and I don't think that it's all on Davion, but we saw them win the Summer League championship. He's just a winning player, and of course Harrison Barnes is playing out his mind. So you guys got any love for Mitchell, and do you have him on your watch list, Brad?
I do. Yeah, I love Davion Mitchell. He hasn't played under 19 minutes in any game this season as a rookie. All right, and like you said, the Kings are in contention. All right, they're the 11 seed at 5-8. All right, so they have a decent shot, and they're giving this guard heavy minutes off the bat. There was a stretch a few games ago where he scored 18 points, 12 points, and 19 points. Then he followed that up with 2 points, but then he got back on track with 12 points and 13 points, and the latest game 5 points. So over that span, like you said on your graphic, 11.6 points, 3.4 rebounds, 4.3 assists, at least over his past 7 games. All right. And he's been playing 26 to 30 minutes. I mean, you want that. You want a guard who is getting minutes on a contending team on your roster, at least at the end of your 12-team bench, even in a points league. I like what I see from him. He looks good. I like his moves. I like his skill set. I'm definitely adding him. I know that he's on your watch list, but I would definitely look to add him if he's available in your 12-team league.
I agree completely. I think, the name of the game in fantasy basketball is opportunity, and
Minutes, right.
and that's with any fantasy sport, really. And he's going to get those minutes between him and Herbert Jones in New Orleans. Those are the 2 best on-ball defenders in the draft. And if you're an on-ball defender at the guard, at the wing, you're going to get as many minutes as you can handle. And with that, they're going to have some bumps in the road. They're going to have ups and downs. They're going to learn how to score. They're going to learn how to find their way, find their role. But you're always going to have them on the floor. And if you can pick up a guy like that, that's always going to be on the floor, and Mitchell he's got the track record of a 3-point shooter in college. Yeah. You actually have that that upside optionality of okay, they're going to score eventually on top of getting the steals, on top of getting the blocks, on top of getting the boards. All those things will come with time, provided you're a great defender and you're on the court a lot. And I think that's what Mitchell has. So I'm with Jacob and Coach. I think if you haven't added him yet and he's just on your watch list, consider adding him right now before he gets a little too hot.
I wish he would steal more. Like he doesn't provide like those defensive stats for fantasy.
He's because he's on ball defender. He's not playing the lanes like a smaller guard would, so he's not going to get the steals, but he'll get the blocks.
Sure. Yeah. And he's getting 11 shots per game. He's scoring for you. He's getting those assists. And James and Brad, we talked about last week, assists are rare. So if you can get that on the low end scale, along with his points, I'm definitely adding him. So he's on my team.
Yeah, and he's not shooting you out of your weeks like some other rookies like Jalen Suggs is doing and Cade did that first
I'm so
week.
glad the Kings haven't messed him up, man. I really thought they might.
Nah, he's a culture setter.
He just needs to be traded, I think.
He does, yeah.
Like that would open up some more minutes for Halliburton. That would open up some more minutes for Mitchell.
And he doesn't want to be there, but
he just needs a new scenery.
But if they keep winning, he's carved out a nice little role. He just takes 10 threes a game.
He's still one of the greatest shooters I've ever seen play, and he's still going to contribute fantasy-wise. He's still a must-own, even if he's in that situation now. Marvin Bagley, who got called in and refused to go into the basketball game. That is not a good look. I've been in that situation.
You didn't see that, Jacob?
No, I did not see that.
It was.
He shook his head. No.
Yeah, he said, "No, I'm not going in." He's side talking to his teammates. He's like,
"Well, they said earlier in the year that he wasn't going to be in the rotation, so he got some garbage time work, and he was like, no, fuck that. I'm not doing that because he wants to be traded. So I get it's he's holding out.
He's gonna get traded.
Respect it. There's a better way to go about it, but I don't know that he's got the value he thinks he does.
He's going to Pistons.
Former number 2 overall pick. He was averaging 14 and 7 last year in like 30 to 31 minutes. I mean, he still contributes. You just would like him to be in an opportunity where he's not butting heads with the head coaching staff or the front office. I don't know. I know that there's been a lot of talks with him and rumors, and but that's just a bad look when you get called into the game and you don't go in. I mean, I understand it because it's like, does that really help if you play 5 minutes in a blowout?
They're giving Kamezi Metsu his minutes. Like it's interesting,
undrafted guy,
yeah. So that says a lot about him, and it also says a lot about the players that are getting the minutes over him. So something's gonna give there. He's not gonna be in Sacramento long.
Last week we told you about Shake Milton. We talked about Forehand Korkmaz, who's getting beneficiary due to people being out, whether it's Ben Simmons, whether it's Curry, whether it's Tobias Harris, and they both contributed. I had Shake Milton on Monday and Tuesday. He got me a 25-5 game. I think it was 24-6. So those guys are still, decent. But
can I bring up a guy that I think he's very under the radar? He should probably be on a watch list more than an ad list. New Orleans Pelicans. He's one of my old Wizards, Garrett Temple.
Okay.
So we were just talking about, minutes and opportunity, and the last 3 games he's had 36, 29, and 35 minutes, 6 3 and 6 boards, 2 5 and 3 assists, 5 steals in the last 3 games, 2 blocks in the last 3 games, and 17, 12, and 3 on the point side. So you don't really know what you're going to get out of him, but he's going to play a lot. And if you're in a categories league and you're like, okay, I need
Sunday.
I need 3 steals to win this category. Like whatever it is, like he can be there for you if you need to. So he's a guy I'd have on your watch list. Even
you ain't losing sleep when you have to cut him on Monday or
Thursday, exactly. And even when Brandon Ingram comes back, he's still going to get his minutes because he's just a veteran that knows what to do. He knows where to be. He knows all that stuff to make a team win. So keep an eye on him.
I know Jacob had one more due to injuries coming up, and in Chicago's had quite a bit, and he's got a guy that he wants you to keep an eye out or just flat out pick up, take a gamble, take a risk.
So we talking about
your guy?
What? Or
Coby White or Tony Bradley.
We're talking about Tony Bradley.
Either one. I mean, Coby White's coming back too. Yeah.
Hey man, I like that too. Like
all eyes in Chicago.
Out. Yeah. So Tony Bradley is a guy. If I'm in a deeper league or if I need some blocks, I am definitely picking up Tony Bradley. I know he kind of got phased out last night. He started. It was the Bulls versus the Warriors. He started. He kind of got phased out of the game because the Bulls got down, and when you face the Warriors, you're automatically going to go small just because that's how the Warriors play. So he got phased out. He only got 13 minutes. But on a regular game, Tony Bradley's going to get 20 to 22 minutes. He's going to get you a block or two with those points and boards and field goal percentage. I think he is a sneaky ad at the end of 12-team league benches for his blocks. And then we're going to talk about Coby White. With all these injuries to Chicago, Alex Caruso has been carrying that bench. Coby White's going to come in.
Leading the league in steals, by the way. Alex Caruso leading the league in steals.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Coby White's going to lead that bench in points, though. He's going to huck up shots like Zach LaVine, but he's going to come off the bench and huck up those shots. Coby White's going to have ugly field goal percentage games, but on most nights, he is going to get you 10 to 20 points. And that's nice off the bench. And he's going to get you those assists as well, because he is a facilitator from North Carolina. I mean, like he is a solid player. He's not rostered in many leagues, and he should be back. They said that he's practicing. He looks like himself. He looks fully healthy. I predict that he'll be back early next week, and he is definitely a sneaky ad for me as well.
I think he should be on the block, honestly, because Ayo Dosunmu and coaches went out there and said he's got whatever it is, he has it. He affects winning. He's out there pressing up full court, and he's been getting really good backup point guard minutes as of the past 2 weeks. I think that Coby White is expendable because of all the money that you paid into that backcourt, because of the success of Caruso and Ayo. Maybe a 3-team deal. Free Marvin Bagley. Get him to Chicago because God knows they need help in that front court with Patrick Williams going out for the year and Vucevic now having COVID. But he seems like that would be a good something if Sacramento can get some assets with the third team. And the third team, if you can go get Coby White and then you have a productive scorer off the bench and a guy that now seems expendable. And of course, Sacramento is loaded in the guard position. I'm just throwing that out there, but it makes sense from all wavelengths.
I'd rather Coby White to the Wizards for like Thomas Bryant.
I like that a lot.
Because
it gives
Marvin Bagley, I'm still just not sold on Marvin Bagley as an NBA talent for more than 20 minutes a night and at number 2 overall pick and at what he wants to be paid. Yeah. At what he wants to be paid. I don't see him being happy anywhere but like Detroit, where he could get like a bunch of minutes,
Well, and you mentioned the Wizards. I know that Chicago's shooting themselves in the foot for letting go of Daniel Gafford because he'd be perfect.
I know, right?
I can't believe they traded him, man. Gafford is a shot blocker. He's ferocious.
Yeah, and he's a cornerstone of the Wizards going forward. They really love him, and they paid him a little bit, but enough to like keep him here.
But it goes to show, like, role is everything. Like your opportunity is everything. Like he was not getting the minutes in Chicago that he should have been getting, and he's getting them in Washington.
Yep. Well, and he played, and yet last year he had some impressive games against Washington when he was playing for Chicago.
Yeah.
And I watched him. I was like, man, I was like, who is this big light-skinned guy that's blocking everything, dunking everything? Like, I like him. What's his name? Gafford? Like, I gotta look him up. Like, where did he come from? He's one of those guys, like, sometimes it hits you like, man, I didn't know this guy.
I'm hoping this is the trajectory that like Chris Boucher will have on Toronto. Like, I'm hoping he gets traded somewhere, gets minutes, and then everybody's like, damn, this guy's good.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I hope so. Boucher goes some new scenery. He's 28 though.
He is.
We got to talk about people you got to get rid of. This is the drop list.
Let me go first.
Send them to the desert. Go ahead.
We're already talking about Toronto. These Toronto rotations are they're blowing my mind. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know if they're trying to win, if they're trying to tank, if they're trying to develop talent. All I know is,
it is weird.
Yeah. Like, all I know is that, like, they made this trade to get Kyle Lowry out, and they brought in Goran Dragic, and they're not playing him at all. I was holding out hope that they were going to play him, and he was going to get 25 minutes a game at least and do exactly what he did in Miami. He's getting DNPs. I thought he was injured. apparently not. Like he's just not playing. Drop Goran Dragic. I don't know what's happening there, but he's not going to play.
Goran Dragic and Malachi Flynn, who I think is a serious NBA talent. They need to give that man minutes or trade him.
I do too. I don't know what's going on.
They're giving the minutes to the tall rookie. I can't
Buddy
remember
Barnes
his name, but from Nebraska, he stole that spot. I can't believe I can't remember his name, but he's like 6'8" point guard, long. He can't really shoot the ball.
Barnes?
No, that you would think, but no, Toronto got somebody in the draft.
OG?
No, he's a rookie. He is a rookie. I don't know why I can't think of his name, but Dragic did start that first game. If y'all want to look that up, Dragic did start the first game.
Yeah, no,
he hasn't started since then. Gary Trent Jr. has started since then, and Trent Jr. obviously is the top 3 in steals, and he's getting you buckets. So he was one of those guys that if you picked him up that first or second week, you are doing backflips. You love some Gary Trent Jr. So I think that they're in a place of development and not hungry for wins. And thus, yeah, you could see Dragic can move down the road.
James, are you talking about Delano Banton?
Yep.
Okay.
He's taking over that basically backup point guard position. Oh, and what's more surprising, not the Dragic thing, he's 6'9". It's more not the Dragic thing, it's the Malachi Flynn thing. Because Malachi was solid last year in his rookie year.
He was a stud with Lowry out.
Yes, and you were streaming him at the end of last year, so that's just interesting. So now back to the land of the desert, and there's 3 guys that all play on the same team, and Dillon Brooks is coming to eat all of them minutes because he's a 30-plus minute a game guy. Kyle and Slow-Mo Anderson, a guy that fills it up across the board, but just doesn't give you any points. In his last game yesterday, had 4 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. But you saw he was just productive 2 days before, giving you 12 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists on 2 threes. Just not consistent enough for me, and then shooting at 41%. I'm staying away from Kyle Anderson. D'Anthony Milton, he's a guy that gets you stocks like Kyle Anderson. So up and down. But you see, like yesterday, he had a game where he had 3 points, 1 assist, 1 rebound. But then, a couple days ago, it was worth it because he gave you 4 stocks. But he was a hot pickup to start the year. One of the hottest pickups to start the year, Desmond Bane. Jacob, you want to speak a little bit about Desmond, and is his time now? Is it over? Is the Desmond Bane show done in fantasy basketball for this year?
Desmond has been the bane to my existence over the past week. You like that? No, it's just, like Bane started off so hot, man. And I picked him up in my points league, and he was anchoring the end of my bench. And then all of a sudden he puts up goose egg after goose egg, and 2 goose eggs in a row for a hot free agent earlier. You get a quick drop, because it's just going to steadily, he might play a little bit better, but, Dillon Brooks coming back, Bane is an absolute drop. Like you said earlier, Milton is an absolute drop. The only one that I would consider keeping in deeper leagues is Kyle Anderson, because like you said, James, I really like those stocks. I like those steals and those blocks. He definitely will not score much because Dillon Brooks hucks up shots. So it's going to be the Brooks and Morant show as far as who's taking shots in Memphis. But Kyle Anderson is a defensive anchor on that team, and he's still going to give you those consistent steals and blocks, and I need that, where I don't need him to score on my team. Like, I already have enough scorers, so you have to know your team. If you do need scoring, then Kyle Anderson isn't for you. But if you need those steals and blocks, which I do, which I love, I'm still keeping him. But Milton, Bane, see you later.
All right, and we told you to drop Steven Adams last week, even though he came back and he had like a 9 rebound game, 13 rebound game. So he's still gonna get you rebounds. But
that's it though. It's a field goal percentage and rebounds.
Yeah, it just doesn't. He's not blocking enough shots for me. And if you I understand if your center position is weak and you really need rebounds, he's rosterable. But I think there's better options that you can go with. Brad, are you with the consensus here? Is if you had Dillon Brooks on your IR to start, you're excited to get that guy back outside of him killing your field goal percentage? He definitely produces well.
I agree with everything you guys said, but the only person I might hang on to is D'Anthony Melton.
Really?
I just think he's a guy that they're gonna figure out how to get him minutes, and he's kind of one of those. he's one of those guys that you look up and it's like, oh, he had 19, 5 and 5, and then the next game he had 3, 2 and 1. Like it's just he's very inconsistent, but he's an NBA player and he's somebody who could start if given the opportunity, like he has this year. So
it made me have a thought because you brought up a good point that these are good NBA players, and their names aren't standing out. We didn't even mention Tyus Jones. We didn't mention Brandon Clark, who actually had a hero performance on TV this past week, where he came in and he had close to 20 points off the bench. And when he started his rookie year, you looked at his trajectory and you got really excited, and then kind of turned into coaching DMP. So they have a lot of guys that they can throw out there, and these guys are, these are big guys. Desmond Bane, he's a big fella. Kyle Anderson is slow, but he's a big guy. Like,
there.
What's that?
They've done a good job scouting over there. Like
they hit on their picks.
Talent. Yep. Yeah, I'm impressed.
Speaking of talent, we got to talk about the top tier of talent, and there's one guy that should be at the leaderboard of the MVP, sniffing number 3. Greatest shooter of all time. Got to change that Warriors to 11-1 now.
Wow.
And this performance of the week, as we're talking about, this is the cake. This is the red velvet right here. Babyface assassin Steph Curry gave you another 50 spots, 7 boards. It's incredible how many rebounds he gets at his size. 10 assists to go with the 50. So what you want? What do you want to do? I'll give you 9 threes, but I'm gonna dish out 10 at the same time. 3 steals. He's the oldest player to have 50 points and 10 assists in NBA history, a record that he took away from Wilt Chamberlain. He's had 35 games with at least 9 3-pointers made all time. Closest is Damian Lillard and James Harden, who both have 9.
Yep.
35 games with 9+ threes. Steph Curry, what Steph Curry is doing is spectacular. Anytime he is on television, you need to press record.
Can you imagine, do you think if we're watching hoops 20 years from now, do you think there will ever be a better shooter than Steph? Is it even possible?
I would love to say yes, but I don't think so, Brad.
If they create a 4-point line and then somebody's making 9 4-pointers, but I don't know. There's so many kids that this is all they do is they try to be like Steph, and I want to say no. I think
it might happen. We might get one.
He's got the highest free throw percentage all time. He shoots 43 from 3 all time, and he puts up 11, 12. He's done it for 7 years. It's gonna take
you said, Coach. Just because these kids have all been trying to be Steph for so long, and there's kids that just specialize in shooting Steph threes. I think one day, 20 years from now, we're gonna get a player that just shoots 50% from 33 feet.
Oh, that would be amazing. I don't know. It might take 50 years.
You might be right. It might take
20
50 years.
That's a little possible. Too early for me.
Did you guys know that Steph Curry is only 78 3-pointers away from surpassing Ray Allen?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
At 33 years old, and with all those ankle injuries that he dealt with, all that time missed, he's still only 78 away from Ray Allen.
He might get that this year.
Oh yeah. He'll get it in 20 games if exactly. He keeps up on this pace.
Well, and Chris Paul was a guy that I started the week off. Somebody I was going to shout out, but since we're talking records, he's 3rd all time in assists. He's leading the league in assists. What Chris Paul is doing right now at age 37, it's remarkable. He's still got the Suns with an 8-3 record. So shout out the point god, Chris Paul. Moving on to Jacob's pick this week. Somebody again probably. I got to be the number 1 waiver pickup of the entire season.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Tyrese Maxey, man. I'm talking about that game against Toronto. All right. He got 33 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 stocks, as you would say, 2 blocks and 1 steal. The dude went off 12 for 19 from the field, 8 for 8 from free throw. This Tyrese Maxey is killing it. And it's crazy to think that Tyrese Maxey and Shake Milton were in this competition of who was going to start at point guard. And it took a Milton injury for Maxey to just be the automatic start, and he's been destroying it. I remember at the beginning of this year, I sent out a tweet saying you need to add Maxey right now with Ben Simmons not mentally right. All right. Like, it's time to add Maxey. He's starting for a talented Sixers team. And at the very least, last year, Maxey had started around 5 games and he was averaging around 15, 17 points, 5 to 7 assists, 1 to 2 steals. Like, he did well. He was going to be like a borderline top 100 player. Well, right now he is well inside the top 50. And like you said, James, he is the waiver wire ad of the year so far. So if you have Maxey, keep riding him because the breakout is here and it's fun to watch.
Super impressive. He's shooting over 50% from the field.
Woo!
That's incredible. 88 from the free throw line, 38 from 3. Ooh. So he's doing this at an efficient rate, and he's only in his second year. He only was at Kentucky for 1 year. So that makes him under the age of 21, and he's playing far beyond his years. So shout out to Tyrese Maxey. He just fits the role. That just ended up being a steal. I said it on draft night. Like, that was just an incredible get by Philly. And people are going to be upset down the road. This kid is special. He really is special. And I saw a thing where they said that Tyrese Maxey has gotten better in 1 year, more in 1 year than Ben Simmons has his entire career. No, that doesn't make him better than Ben, but it's a true statement. Ben has not really progressed too much since his rookie years. His numbers are similar to Tyrese is taking a jump, but like, it's not saying that he's a better player than Ben Simmons, but it is a true statement that he's got better in one year.
It's one thing if you start from where Maxey started, and then if you start from where Ben started, which is all NBA.
So much right.
All right. Do you have a player performance of the week, Brad, that you
I didn't even put it in the chat because I knew you would do Steph, and that's who mine was as well. So
okay. I mean, you can't go away. It's the second time in 5 weeks or 4 weeks that we've had this show that he's been on the radar. How this guy, Anthony Edwards, who's had some funny things to say about Steph. And this was heads up against Steph Curry. He had 48 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 16 to 27 from the floor, 7 threes. I think that's one of the biggest things is these top 5 and 3-pointers made. His 3-point shooting was actually questioned coming into the draft, and now he's one of the best in the entire league. Anthony Edwards says to Steph Curry at the scores table, hey, I might go for 50. He had 40 at this moment. They're checking in for the final time. He's like, I might go for 50. And Steph's like, oh, he's like doing the Steph shrug. But I mean, the guy is just so comical. If you ever hear him in interviews, you got to love Edwards. And on the season, he's averaging 26 points a game, 6 rebounds, almost 4 assists, 43% from the field. So he's shooting a lot, but he's making like 3.5 threes a game, 1.6 steals. Fantasy wise, I mean, that's a top 30 player. If you drafted him wherever you drafted him, you're happy with it. And yes, LaMelo Ball is spectacular, and they'll be compared against each other their entire careers. These are just 2 of the most exciting players to watch. So I wanted to shout out Anthony Edwards, who's also playing a little bit better the winning basketball I've seen. His plus minus defensively, he's getting after it. He's better defensive, prospect than they gave him credit for. So shout out Ant on our way out.
I'll say one thing about Ant. Like, how I was low on him coming out, and I immediately realized how wrong that was last year. But
yeah, me too.
He managed to look like the number 1 option on his team so quickly, and that's saying a lot when Cat is still on your team. So just shout out to him. Like, he's got all the leadership potential. He seems intense when he needs to be intense, and he seems to be light when things are a little too heavy. So I think he's got the perfect personality to just be the number 1 guy on a team. So I almost really hope Cat gets shipped out soon because I want to see what happens when it's just him.
Yeah, man. And Cat struggled in this game. He, I think he scored about 17 points, but he struggled in this game. And like, Ant had to carry that team.
Yep.
You're right, Brad. If Cat gets shipped out, this is Ant's team, and Ant could definitely be a top 10 fantasy contributor and probably an all-star if Cat gets shipped out soon. And Ant Edwards has all that usage just falling into his lap. But he's definitely over D'Angelo Russell, and he's getting to that point where he is the go-to guy over Cat. And you love to see it.
I just can't believe I didn't see this from him in college. Like I saw like a kid who he shot too much and he was athletic, and I was like, yeah, he's definitely an NBA player, but I don't know if he's a number 1, number 2 pick. But it's clear that he is, and it just goes to show that sometimes you need a little more than the eye test to get these kind of things right.
I still think there's some growing up.
Of course, he's still like a kid. He's what,
20
like
years
20?
old.
Yeah, I know that. But that's
Yeah,
the thing. Like, I mean, we're picking something here,
Sure.
and that's my thing with Anthony. That's why I had concerns like you did coming into the draft, as far as what his NBA potential was. Like, yeah, we saw there was a high ceiling there because of his athletic build. I mean, we see how he's dunking on all over the place. His smooth stroke, everything looks good. And I know he's jovial and he's young, but I think that there's some strides that he has to make as a professional for him to become a winning player. I mean, the T-Wolves are still struggling. So
I'll tell you what, he keeps putting up these numbers. He can act however he wants.
There we go. Brad, do you have anything to plug on our way out? Oh, shout out Luka Doncic, who now has 3 game-winning 3-pointers made in his career, and in his young career that ties people like Kevin Durant and James Harden. So shout out Luka legend. Brad, you got anything to plug?
Watch the Triple Play Fantasy Football Show. Also follow me on Twitter at Sir Bradley K, and you can catch me doing content for the NBA and the NFL on fantraxhq.com.
And Jacob Dunne.
Right on. Yeah, and you can find me on Twitter at Ain't Done Yet, and Dunne is spelled D-U-N-N-E. Be on the lookout for Triple Play Super Fantasy Bros show every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And David and I's show on Sunday, the Start Sit show. So if you have any fantasy football questions, come hit us up there. But hey, guys, let's get after this Week 5 fantasy basketball. Let's dominate your league. Listen to James and Brad. They know what they're talking
about. I don't think we mentioned that Mr. Ain't Done Yet, Mr. Jacob Dunne is Triple Play Fantasy's new content director.
Let's go. That's right. That's right, man. Facilitating that content. All right. So Triple Play is going to have content every day.
Any content you see from Triple Play, Jacob's been calling the shots on that. So shout out to our boy here.
Yeah. Way to stay on top of everything. We appreciate you. We do want to give a shout out to our Fantasy Points media platform who just brought us in. And of course, this is exciting times for us and them. So the hype is real. All right. So again, we're a proud member of the Fantasy Points media platform. Please tune into our Triple Play Fantasy podcast. Drops every week. Baseball, football, basketball. Dropping content every day. Super Fantasy Bros, as just mentioned, 2022 NBA draft content. I'm sharpening my tool as far as that's concerned. I'm watching a lot of play, a lot of college basketball. It looks like a very exciting season with the Blue Bloods in full flesh, and as well as your other really good teams like Gonzaga, who might be thrown into there eventually. Between the seams, who are you going to start? Who are you going to sit tomorrow for NFL? Join Jacob and D. Mindy. The Basketball Pod just interviewed former NBA players J.R. Brimmer and Craig the Rhino Smith. Thanks to Doc for taking care and providing great conversations covering their careers. It's nice when you have an interview that's one-on-one. Shout out D. Mindy. He got to get his favorite MLB baseball player, Denard Span, on, and that was a really, really in-depth conversation and very heartfelt. And so shout out to Denard Span for giving us his time. Check us out on Twitter and on IG at AAA Fantasy. Shout out to Fantrax, Fantasy Points, D. Mindy, Doc, Little Cheesecake, Bradstradamus, Kev, Jacob, Marty, and Mac, and everyone in AAA Fantasy that keeps this engine running. Like always, stay safe. Continue to love the game of the basketball like we do. Feel free to share with friends, comment on our videos, hit a subscribe button or like button for the team. COVID is real. Take care of yourselves. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. Keep the hand sanitizer on deck.